He wasn't a sailor. He wasn't trained for survival. But for 79 days, he floated in the heart of the Pacific, alone, starving, and slowly fading away. This is the story of a man who had every reason to give up, but found one reason to survive. Welcome to Lost and Alive, where true survival isn't just about staying alive, it's about discovering why. It was supposed to be a quiet escape. Mark Thompson wasn't an adventurer nor an expert sailor. He was just a regular man, someone seeking silence in a world that never stopped talking. He left the shore of Hawaii in a small sailboat. No grand expedition, no cameras, just a weekend plan to float, fish, and breathe. The first 2 days were peaceful. He read a paperback novel, listened to the wind, and cast his line in the calm Pacific. It felt like time had paused, like he'd finally stepped outside the noise of the world. But on the third morning, the clouds gathered. The wind picked up. Waves slammed against the boat. Rain poured like punishment. Mark scrambled to check his GPS. No signal. His phone slipped into the water. The map? Gone. Within hours, his bearings were lost. The sea had taken control. By the time night fell, he was alone. Truly alone. No direction, no communication. Just one man, floating somewhere in the endless blue with no idea where he was headed, or if he'd ever make it back. Day 1 of being lost felt unreal. Mark kept thinking someone would find him, that maybe a helicopter would spot his sail from above, or that the coast was just over the horizon. But the second day brought something else. Hunger. He had a few protein bars, a bottle of water, and 1 apple. He rationed them carefully. Half a bar in the morning, a sip of water at noon. Still. By evening, his stomach was growling louder than the sea. On day 3, the sun burned through the clouds. No more rain, just endless white-hot sky. The water in his bottle was almost gone. His tongue was dry, his lips cracking. Every wave, every shift of the boat sounded like a whisper of hope, but nothing came. By day 5, the food was gone. He tried catching a fish. Nothing bit. He dropped a bucket tied to a rope, hoping to scoop water. It came up full, but salt water. He stared at it for an hour, then brought it close to his mouth. His body begged, his mind screamed no, and he didn't drink. That night, he curled in the bottom of the boat. His skin was sunburned, his throat ached. But the silence was louder than anything. Mark thought of his sister, his old dog, the girl he once loved but never had the courage to tell. He didn't cry. He couldn't. There were no tears left in him. Day 7. The ocean was quiet. Too quiet. Mark sat up, dizzy, his body light from hunger, heavy from thirst. That morning, something changed. A shadow moved under the boat, a flicker of silver. Fish. He tore a piece of wire from the boat's radio, tied it to a shoelace, and bent a soda tab into a crude hook. It wasn't perfect, but desperation sharpens the mind. For 2 hours, he dangled it in the water. Then suddenly, a tug. He yanked hard. The hook held. A fish, struggling, thrashing. Victory. No fire, no knife. Just his hands and hunger. He bit into it raw, chewed, swallowed. His stomach turned instantly. 20 minutes later, he vomited over the side of the boat. Again and again. His body rejecting the first meal in days. The pain was unbearable, but the need was greater. The next day, he tried again. This time, he let the fish dry in the sun. He laid it out on a piece of plastic, covered it with his shirt, and let the heat cook it slowly. 4 hours later. It wasn't soft, it wasn't delicious, but it stayed down. He had learned something. Nature doesn't care about comfort. It only responds to will. By day 12, he was drying fish daily. His body was weaker, but his spirit sharper. He even managed to catch rainwater in an empty can, one drop at a time. He spoke aloud, not to God, not to the sea, but to himself. Just one more day. Then maybe they'll see me. No ship, no plane, no rescue, but the stars at night, they were the same ones he remembered as a kid. That gave him something, a memory, a reason, and hope. Hope that refused to die. Day 15. Day 15. Mark woke to the sound of silence. His lips were cracked, his tongue dry like driftwood. He had no words left, not for the ocean, not even for himself. The sun scorched him mercilessly. His skin blistered. His eyes stung from the salt. The air smelled of fish, rust, and slow death. On day 17, the hallucinations began. He saw a cruise ship in the distance, massive, white, beautiful. He stood up, waving his shirt like a flag, screaming with whatever voice he had left, but it didn't move. It wasn't real. He collapsed, face down on the raft floor, sobbing without tears. Then came the voice, not from the ocean, not from the sky, but from inside. A whisper. "Get up, Mark." He didn't know if it was memory, madness, or something higher, but he obeyed. Day 21. A storm cloud rolled over the horizon. He opened his mouth to the sky, praying for rain, and it came. Just a few drops at first, then a full downpour. He held his hands out like a child, collecting the water in anything he could find. His shoes, his shirt, even the empty bait can. He drank. Slowly. Each sip felt like life itself. For a few hours, he felt human again. But the storm wasn't kind. Waves rocked the raft violently. Lightning struck nearby. He tied himself to the raft with rope, just in case the sea tried to take him. By morning, everything was soaked, but he was alive. Day 26. His journal, made from an old food wrapper and a charred pencil, now held 5 words. Still here, still fighting, not done. No birds, no planes, no boats, just him and the sea. But now, he wasn't just surviving, he was enduring. Mark woke to the sound of silence. His lips were cracked, his tongue dry like driftwood. He had no words left, not for the ocean, not even for himself. The sun scorched him mercilessly. His skin blistered. His eyes stung from the salt. The air smelled of fish, rust, and slow death. On day 17, the hallucinations began. He saw a cruise ship in the distance, massive, white, beautiful. He stood up, waving his shirt like a flag, screaming with whatever voice he had left. But it didn't move. It wasn't real. He collapsed, face down on the raft floor, sobbing without tears. Then came the voice. Not from the ocean, not from the sky, but from inside. A whisper. "Get up, Mark." He didn't know if it was memory, madness, or something higher, but he obeyed. Day 21. A storm cloud rolled over the horizon. He opened his mouth to the sky, praying for rain. And it came. Just a few drops at first, then a full downpour. He held his hands out like a child, collecting the water in anything he could find. His shoes, his shirt, even the empty bait can. He drank. Slowly. Each sip felt like life itself. For a few hours he felt human again. But the storm wasn't kind. Waves rocked the raft violently. Lightning struck nearby. He tied himself to the raft with rope, just in case the sea tried to take him. By morning, everything was soaked, but he was alive. Day 26. His journal, made from an old food wrapper and a charred pencil, now held 5 words. Still here, still fighting, not done. No birds, no planes, no boats, just him and the sea. But now, he wasn't just surviving, he was enduring. Day 29. Mark's legs had stopped responding properly. They weren't injured, just tired, like they had forgotten how to move. He tried to stretch them. Nothing. His arms trembled just from holding his head up. He chewed on a small piece of dried fish, more like leather now. Swallowed with effort. It didn't taste like anything anymore. It was just survival fuel. He looked out at the water, and for the first time, he didn't feel fear. He felt numb. Not cold, not warm, just empty. That scared him more than anything else. Day 33. He lost track of time. The journal was gone, blown away during the night. He hadn't spoken in days. His voice was a stranger. His mind floated between memory and dream. He imagined his brother's laugh, his mother's hands, the smell of rain in his hometown. He spoke to them, whispered their names, knowing no one could hear him. Day 35. A low hum echoed in the distance. Mark's eyes opened, barely. A speck, moving fast, cutting across the horizon. Could it be a ship? No. A helicopter. He blinked again. It was gone. His heart thudded. Too hard for a body that weak. Hallucination. Again. Or was it? He reached for the flare, but his fingers slipped. He cursed under his breath, crawled, pulled himself. Pain exploded in his shoulder, but he reached it. He lifted the flare gun with both trembling hands, aimed at the sky, and fired. A red flame cut through the blue sky, bright and defiant. Then, nothing. No turn, no noise, no sign of the helicopter. His hand dropped. So did the flare gun. "I tried," he whispered to no one. And then, a sound. Different. Nearer. A thump, thump, thump. Rhythmic and loud. It wasn't in his head. The chopper. It was coming back. He tried to wave, but his arm barely rose. He grabbed his shirt, held it up weakly. The helicopter hovered above. A rope came down. A voice, muffled through a speaker, "Hold on, we see you." Mark tried to nod, but even that was slow. A rescuer descended. Hands grabbed him. Real hands. He was lifted, higher, into the machine, into the sky. It was quiet. The kind of quiet that feels heavy, like it's waiting for something to break it. Mark opened his eyes. Ceiling tiles, a white light, a steady beep somewhere beside him. His lips were cracked. His throat, dry sandpaper. He blinked. Once. Twice. "Mr. Thompson," a soft voice said beside him. He turned slightly. A nurse smiled gently. "You're in Honolulu General. You've been unconscious for 3 days." He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. "Don't rush," she said kindly. "You were found drifting, malnourished, dehydrated, but alive." That last word rang through his head. Alive. He closed his eyes and tears fell sideways into his ears. For the next 2 days, he remained quiet. Doctors spoke around him, nurses measured and noted, but Mark just stared at the ceiling. They brought him soft food, monitored his vitals, rehydrated his body. But something deeper, something raw, was still catching up to him. On the 4th morning, he finally sat up. He looked at his hands, bones beneath thin skin, fingers trembling. He whispered to himself, just to hear his own voice. "You're still here." A nurse walked in, holding a small bag, his belongings recovered from the raft. A few soaked pages from his journal. The empty flare gun. A photo of his family. Faded but intact. He stared at that picture for a long time, and then he asked, "Can I have a moment alone?" She nodded. He turned toward the window. The Pacific stretched far in the distance, calm, harmless, and Mark finally spoke out loud. Not to the sea, not to himself, but to the sky. "I don't know who you are, or what you are." He paused, tears slipping down his hollow cheeks. "But you gave me another chance, when I didn't have any strength left." He looked up at the clouds. "I called for help without knowing who I was calling, but someone answered." And then, for the first time in his life, a man who had never believed, never needed more than logic, he closed his eyes. And he said, quietly, reverently, "Thank you, Allah." 79 days, no land, no help, no reason to believe he'd ever survive. But one fragile breath at a time, Mark Thompson made it. Not because he was the strongest, not because he was prepared, but because hope, silent, invisible, and stubborn, refused to die inside him. And in the end, when his strength was gone, it wasn't his body that kept him alive. It was something far deeper. A quiet prayer, a whispered surrender, a final connection to something greater. This isn't just a story of survival. This is a story of discovering faith when everything else is stripped away. And that's what Lost and Alive is all about. Real people, impossible moments, and the silent battles between life and death, where belief is the last anchor. If Mark's journey moved you, subscribe to Lost and Alive, because every week we bring you one true story of those who faced the edge and found a reason to keep going. Like the video, share it with someone who needs to feel hope, and remember, even in the middle of nowhere, you're never truly alone. This is Lost and Alive, where survival becomes a calling and every breath is a miracle.